Welcome, SWU Nation, to The Compass, a show where we discuss today's world from a Christian perspective. I'm Lindsay Posey.
And I'm Mark Picklesheimer. Today we will be talking about the transition from high school to college. Let's get started. Between new loads of classwork, financial responsibilities, changes in social circles, and new levels of freedom, the transition from high school to college can be a rough one. According to university prep schools, the total undergrad enrollment dropped 3.1% between the fall of 2020 and the fall of 2021, bringing the new total decline since the fall of 2019 to 6.6% because of COVID-19.
2020 high school graduates were not only impacted by COVID-19 through the transition to college, but also in the conclusion of high school. With non-traditional graduations, no senior prom, and none of the other senior traditions that many schools offer in celebration of completing school, many 2020 graduates found themselves missing a sense of closure before switching gears and starting college.
To hear some different perspectives from students on this, here's Cameron Lamack Spur.
Hello, on this week's show, we're talking about how the transition from high school to college was a little bit different. And right now we have Kayla right here, and she's going to be our first interview for the week. Kayla, what graduating high school class were you?
I was 2021.
Okay, awesome. How was the transition from high school to college different?
I would say for me personally, I know for a lot of kids, it's a lot different because you have to be more independent.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have people like checking in on your grades and things like that. But me personally in high school, my parents were kind of like standoffish, so I didn't have anyone checking on my grades. I always did my own, like with schedules and SATs, scheduling, all of those type of things. My senior year, I did pretty much everything by myself. I was playing the parent role and the student. So for me, it wasn't that much different besides like for classes, just setting my alarms and I had weights involved now with sports, but pretty much it was a pretty much easy transition, I would say, for the most part.
Awesome. Good. What were some of the struggles and blessings you faced when you got here?
I would say the struggle my freshman year in high school, I was pretty much like social butterfly. I talked to everyone knew me. But my freshman year here, I pretty much was like standoffish. I wasn't as social. So I guess just basically pretty much like fitting in and just finding my place since I was so standoffish. I would say that was just a transition and struggle that I had because I went from being such a social and outgoing girl to kind of like a standoffish, stay in the room. So I'll pretty much say that was my only struggle that I had. And then this year it's been easier because I've been putting myself out there more and talking to people. So I would say it's been so much easier this year.
Awesome. Thank you, Kayla.
Thank you.
Next, we have Isaac with us. Yeah. Isaac, what graduating class were you in high school?
I graduated in 2020.
Awesome. How was your transition from high school to college like?
It was good. I think the hardest part was finding the friend groups. Because I like with COVID, like it was the height of COVID, like all of that, and so like it was hard because like you couldn't see people's faces, and then like someone would disappear for 2 weeks and you wouldn't know, and then find out that they were in quarantine or something. So that was probably the hardest part.
Got you. What were some of the struggles and blessings you faced when you got here?
Probably the friend groups was the biggest struggle. Trying to like find people, but by spring semester, like we were in the routine of like, oh, so this is just what's going on, and so once you settled into that routine, it was pretty easy.
Yeah. Now, were there any blessings that you remember when you got here?
I think it was really just like a couple friends that I still remember Richard Tysinger. He was like the first face that I like knew on campus, and he really welcomed me in, and then we were roommates last year. And so that was really fun. So that's definitely a blessing that came out of it.
Got you. Thank you, Isaac.
Yeah, for sure.
Next, we're here with Sam. Sam, what high school graduating class were you with?
I was with the 2022 graduating class.
Perfect. How was your transition from high school to college like?
It was pretty good. The transition, like the first couple of weeks, I was just a little hesitant, but with the SWU community, it was just like really welcoming, and they just brought me right in.
Awesome. Yes. What were some of the struggles you faced like when you got here?
For the most part, it was trying to find new friendships and just like making those connections. But after a couple of weeks, like people were very welcoming, and they just I just got connected really fast.
Nice. So What were some of the blessings like that you gotten from being here in college at school?
Definitely like intentional relationships and just like being rooted in connections and just like having those connections to where like we like really know each other and it's not just like surface level or anything.
No, I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Braden with us. And Braden, what high school graduating class were you with?
I was a 2021.
Okay, awesome, awesome. How was transition from high school to college like?
I actually wasn't planning on going to college at all. But then I kind of really, I didn't really have friends in high school at all. And I feel like that's primarily because like a lot of people I went to high school with didn't like share the same like religious values I had. And so like it was hard for me to find friends. And once I came here and like I came to SWU, like everybody was super warm and comforting and like they kind of shared the same like things I had. So especially transitioning to this school in particular, it was really easy and it was a lot of fun and I loved it.
Awesome.
So, yeah. It was great.
What were some of the struggles you faced when you got here? If you remember.
I think like the first week it was super stressful and I had like a lot of anxiety because like I was in a new place in a different state, and like I didn't really have anyone except for a couple people that I knew that I went to camp with that came here, but just making friends. But after a while it was just a really easy thing to kind of just get past.
Yeah, and the next question is like, do you remember any of the blessings that like coming here have brought you like then and even now?
Oh yeah. I struggle with finding a community of people that like I felt like was like a solid group of people because like I didn't have friends and then the big phases out of my life and like now like being here like since I have all this exposure to people that I love and like I'm able to kind of be around like I've made like a lot of like life lasting like friendships.
Absolutely.
Like long lasting like life friendships and I love it. You know, there's a lot of great people here. You're a good friend of mine too. So it's nice.
Thank you, Braden. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Next, we have Jaden with us today. Jaden, what high school class were you?
Class of 2022. That was the year I graduated high school.
Nice. How was your transition from high school to college like?
I feel like the transition wasn't that hard. Just like getting used to walking around and stuff, like it wasn't that bad. I wouldn't say it was difficult. I know some people have the transition, and I never really get homesick. So it was just like I was in a new place with new people, so now it's a new experience.
Yeah. Awesome, totally. What were some of the struggles you faced when you got here? Do you remember?
Well, I stay in Mully, so walking up the hill was really annoying every day.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just really the reading.
Yeah.
Like, I read in high school, but you do reading in every class. Like I read so much, it makes me sick.
Yeah. No, I know.
That's probably what I would say.
Yeah. What are some of the blessings that school has brought you? Do you any friendships, things like that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is the people here are really nice. And I didn't really know anybody, but at least by the first month, I pretty much had seen everybody on campus already. So I think it was very welcoming. I don't ever feel like the people here dislike me or anything. So that's what I would say.
Thank you, Jaden. I appreciate that.
Welcome back. I'm now joined by Michaela Carr, who is a 2020 high school graduate. Thank you for being here today, Michaela. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
That's good. What was your experience like graduating high school in 2020?
It was honestly really, really hard. I mean, we had to, like, we were told that we were just like leaving for a little while. You know, they're like, oh, you guys have got to go home. Like, you'll probably be doing school online. And then we just never came back. Like, I think most of us didn't really know what to do with that because we were like, we didn't see our friends. Like, doing school online was super hard because I'm a very visual learner. So having like a teacher actually like show you how to do stuff, like especially if it was like science or something like that, like showing you how to do stuff and physically doing stuff with your hands. So that was really hard for me. Thankfully, I didn't have like a ton of like really hard classes. So I kind of just like worked a lot and a grocery store in the midst of COVID, got another job because I couldn't work at my other one. While I was doing school, I was working a lot. So that's pretty much how I like passed the time and how it was for me.
Yeah. How was transitioning from high school to college like for you?
Honestly, I feel like I was really, really excited for college, like initially before COVID happened. But then once COVID happened, I was like, man, what is this going to look like? This is going to ruin my college experience. This is going to change everything that I thought that I had all figured out. And so I was really worried about like how masks and social distancing were going to affect like social circles and getting to meet people and going to different events. Like I was like, man, I'm not going to get like the real college experience because everything's like so different. And so like it was hard giving up and letting go of like what I thought college was going to be versus what it actually was, and like having that transition, because thankfully for me, there was like a sense of closure because we did get to have our graduation. Like we had to wear masks and everything, and it was hot because it was in July. And we also did get to have our senior prom, and I know a lot of people didn't get that. And so I'm really grateful that I did get that sense of closure, because I think without that, going from high school to college in the midst of COVID would have been a lot harder, and I would have felt like there wasn't a sense of closure or even transition period, even though it was much, much different than I imagined it was gonna be.
That's good for you. How did COVID affect the last couple of months from high school? I know you talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was just hard not seeing friends for the most part. And like I said, learning online was super hard. Like I really struggled to really learn. Like I didn't really struggle with the work because like I could do the work, but I don't know how much I really actually learned like online. And that was really, really hard because I love learning. I love reading. I'm kind of a nerd. So I really struggle with not actually learning something.
How did COVID affect your first year of college?
I got quarantined a good bit, and that was really hard because it's like you were already getting used to this new environment of mask mandates and social distancing, and you're in this whole new environment without your parents, and you're having to be an adult in the midst of a global pandemic. Like that was super hard, and honestly, I just hated getting quarantined. Like you started to get a routine of like learning how to navigate college and COVID, and then it got interrupted because you had to isolate yourself. And then like I feel like a lot of people experience a lot of depression and anxiety, and for me that was definitely what happened. Like I had just gone through a breakup coming into college. I was far away from home. Like it was a whole new transition. I didn't know a lot of people. I was really like fearful, even though I've always been social. I was kind of shy. I isolated myself even when I wasn't in quarantine because like I felt really alone. And like thankfully like people at SWU were like very welcoming to me, and like I did find people who like loved on me, and I was able to confide in when I was going through a lot. So like the SWU environment was still like very community based, even despite like the masks.
Yeah, I agree with that. What would you have changed about coming into college your first year?
Changed? I mean, obviously I wish that COVID hadn't happened like the way it did, you know, but I also feel like in the midst of it, I was able to see a lot of blessings in COVID. Like even with like my high school like transition, like the job I was able to get, like I learned a lot from that. And having to be more intentional with relationships with others. Obviously it wasn't ideal to like talk to people over text and FaceTime and stuff. But I was fortunate that some family friends lived a street over from me, so we were able to like go on walks when it was nice outside, or just have game nights with each other's families. And like, even though it was COVID, because we were basically family, we would hang out, and you know, we kept a close watch on COVID and everything like that because we didn't go out a lot. But there were blessings within that, and I think even in college, like the people I was able to meet and having that shared experience of coming in together and experiencing COVID together made like somewhat of a stronger bond. Like I said, COVID was not ideal. Obviously, I wish that didn't happen, but there were some benefits and blessings to that. And now coming out of that, even though COVID is not completely gone, it's not like, you know, we're not locked down and everything anymore. Like coming out of that right now, seeing like how I started and how I am now, and how that experience really changed me and who I am.
Thank you for taking your time. We will be right back after the break.
Wake up and focus. Because this is not a drill. This is not about cliches, shallow taglines, or some inspirational quote for you to tweet, snap, pin, or post. No, this is where snooze buttons are frozen, alarm clocks are broken, where feet hit the floor because dreams are now woken. This is it. Awaken your dreams. Awaken your soul. Awaken your purpose. This is Southern Wesleyan University.
Welcome back. I'm now joined by Caleb Oakes, who is also a 2020 high school graduate. How are you doing today, Caleb?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm doing good too. During the height of COVID-19, most schools went from traditional in-person classes to completely online classes. How did this affect the final months of high school in terms of actual learning?
Well, when COVID hit, everything got canceled. We thought it was only going to be 2 weeks, and I knew that it was going to be a lot longer than that because it seemed like a lot bigger of a threat than people were making it out to be. So my high school, we're not really that well off or, that really good at academics, I would say, but they canceled like everything. We had online Spanish classes, but even before COVID, and we didn't learn anything in that. We didn't learn anything in even my AP classes. I think my AP literature class was the only class that was still doing things during the COVID break. And so everybody else was, just giving us busy work to do, and there really was no point to any of the work. It was just to say that we did something. And I think that there was one online class I did have through college that was dual enrollment, and so that just kept going as normal. Everything was already online. I never met with the professor. I don't even know who the professor was. So I think that and AP literature classes were the only classes that we actually did anything in. So.
With mask mandates and social distancing in practice during your transition into college, do you feel that these made the social aspect of college more difficult?
Yeah, it definitely did make it a lot more difficult. I'm a soccer player here at Southern Wesleyan, so our first week here, we had to go everywhere with a mask. It didn't matter if people were around or not. Practice, classes, eating, you had to wear a mask pretty much the whole time. And my family got to come down and help move me in, but I think my little sister was the only one who didn't really get to come help me move me in because we were only allowed 4 people to help us move in. And so that was already an indicator of how the semester was going to go, especially the first COVID semester that we were on campus. My coach would always be very sort of cynical about us hanging out with too many people. He always said to avoid the big crowds and stuff like that, but he also encouraged us to go out and make new friends, but it was very tough to find the fine line in that first semester. And so I'm glad obviously we don't have masks now, but it was very tough trying to get to know and meet new people and new friends with all the mask mandates.
Yeah. Do you think having to adjust to online school towards the end of your senior year had benefited your time management skills in college?
Nope, not at all. So my time management skills in college only came from probably my first semester here. I had to learn how to juggle a lot more hours at work. I'm working food service here at Southern Wesleyan as well, so I had to juggle that, practice, and classes, along with maybe a little bit of social life here and there. So I think that learning those time management skills came from my freshman year that I have now. And my senior year of high school, I pretty much just sat around the house and played soccer, and that's about all I did every day. I went fishing a lot in March and April, and that was about it. And I finally got a job in May. My cousin got me a job down in town, but my time management skills did not come at all from COVID.
What do you think would have made the transition between high school and college easier for 2020 graduates?
I think having that big send-off would have been great. Having those final 2 months. That's what I really wanted as a senior. I wanted those 2 months to sort of say my goodbyes to all my friends, all the guys that I've built special bonds with over the last 14 years of my life, and I never really got it. I don't think I saw half of my graduating class after March 13th. of 2020. And so a lot of things have gone to pot for quite a bit of them, and it's really sad to see. But just having that last moment as, you know, a senior would have been a lot better transition. I would always reach out and I'd ask if they wanted to hang out, and that usually didn't happen because people were afraid of COVID. And so I think that having that time with your friends and those who, you know, have helped shape your academic career and your school experience would have been really nice. And also having, you know, a little bit more prep work in between, you know, March and May for academics as well. That's a huge thing. I didn't really get that. For AP Government, I wasn't grasping a lot of the concepts being taught, and we didn't learn anything. We had to read this book, and it's tough to just read a book and then take an exam, you know, the AP government exam, with just having read the book, you know, because I benefit a lot more from somebody showing me, you know, like the teacher showing me in class what, you know, these concepts actually mean. And so I think that was a huge detriment to me and, you know, my academic career, just having those last two months not doing anything at all.
Thank you for your time, Caleb. We'll be back with more after the break.
This is what winners are made of. This is what leaders are made of. This is what scholars are made of. This is what believers are made of. This is what warriors are made of.
Welcome back. How did COVID affect your prom and graduation and other senior activities?
Our graduation my senior year was outside, and it was on the football field in the rain, and we had to take a break halfway through because it started thundering, so everyone had to go inside, and we came back outside and finished all the remaining students. And I think at the time it was kind of like embarrassing to be graduating on the football field in the rain, but I look back at it now and I think it was kind of like iconic, and there was a rainbow at the end, so that was cool. And then as for prom, we didn't have like an official prom, but some like parents and students put together a prom for us, like not affiliated with the actual school, and so I went to that and it was fun. It wasn't like as big of a deal as I expected senior prom to be, but it was something, and that is, some people didn't have a dance or prom at all for their senior year, so I'm grateful for that. And in terms of other senior activities, obviously we were not in school for the final few months, so none of that happened, and it did kind of leave out that sense of closure that, you know, your senior year is like supposed to be super great and you make memories and stuff, but not being able to see your friends or be even in school kind of took away from that. What about you?
I had a similar experiences. We actually did a drive-through graduation and then an actual graduation, and so we got our like yearbooks and things like that through the drive-through and just got to see the teachers.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of The Compass. Tune in next time for more.